Cheez-It. We haven't talked about the Big 12 conference that much this season outside of Colorado, but it's a big day in the conference. So let's just look at the standings here in the Big 12. BYU and Colorado sit in the driver's seat for the championship game, but Arizona State and Iowa State are just one loss behind. So there's a big game that's happening today as BYU and Arizona State face off again in Tempe. BYU coming off of that loss against Kansas. How much trouble do you feel like this BYU team is in?
They're in a lot of trouble. And I don't think we're talking enough about the Arizona State Sun Devils. The job that Kenny Dillingham has did with this group is unbelievable. They have a quarterback, right? Their guy, Sam Levitt, came over from Michigan State, and he's been at the forefront of everything that they have done offensively. He's a dual threat guy. I watched the game last week versus Kansas State, and he was phenomenal. Kansas State brought a lot of blitzes, but the simple fact that he's a dual threat guy, he had to utilize his legs, get away from pressure. The relationship that he has with his wide receiver, Jordan Tyson, is unbelievable. Their connection is like no other in college football, but also when you look at Cam Scatterboot, 1,000-yard rusher this year for Arizona State. But the most important thing is that they've been able to buy into what their head coach is preaching to them, and we see the fruits of their labor right now as they're 8-2, competing for a Big 12 championship possible.
Yeah, for sure. Steve, what do you think about this BYU team after they take that first loss of the season? Do you feel like they're in trouble now?
I think the party's over. I do. You know, BYU and Miami all year were getting by. Yes, you got to give them credit for winning, but you saw it coming. You're just playing with fire too much. Your offense is bailing you out. You know, BYU was so dependent on turnovers. And then last week, KU doesn't even play their A game and go to Provo and win. So BYU's got the most to prove out of anybody. I'm not doubting them, but when I look at the other roads, when you talk about Colorado, Harry just talked about the job that Dillingham has done at ASU. Those are the two favorites that I would put into the Big 12 title game.
I would also for Arizona State's defense last week versus Kansas State. Their first five possessions, interception, punt, fumble, turnover on downs. That defense last week showed up and showed out. They didn't wait for the party to come to them. They went and made the party and took it over. So shout out to that defense last week for showing up.
Yeah, for sure. We talked a little bit about ASU. Let's talk about them a little bit more because they were 3-9 the last two seasons. Yeah. They've obviously turned things around significantly. What would you attribute that turnaround to?
Dillingham established an identity with Cam Scatterboot. Like the way they went out, you know, established a run early on. He's a guy. He's a dude. Like he's a pro.
Yeah.
And they relied on him and were relentless in the run game when they got revved up. We go back to like week 3. They go to Texas State, who's a group of 5 team. A lot of people, boom, Arizona State hammered them with Scatterboot. So that identity, and then your team seeing you succeed with Scatterboot being the leader, gave Levitt time to get going in the pass game. So all that revved up, and Dillingham using the motivation of being picked last in the conference. Like all that stuff is real in a locker room, and when you start getting belief and you got a guy that's the face of your team, it's a strong thing, man. And Arizona State's taking more steps better and better. Their defense is not at an elite level, basically because of personnel. But hey, they're winning games. They adapt to how they're going to do it, and it's been a great story.
And I think also for Sam Levitt, being able to gradually come along, right? He doesn't turn the football over. 17 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He has 4 rushing touchdowns as well. When you're playing well at the quarterback position, you always have a chance. If you do not have a quarterback, Steve, we know in college football, NFL football, and even high school football, you have no chance whatsoever.
No.
I feel like a lot of the time, obviously all conferences look very different this year, right? So we've talked a lot about Colorado when it comes to Big 12 this year. Are we not talking about Arizona State enough?
I mean, they don't. When you have Colorado in the sentence in that conference,
that makes sense.
No one is wrapped it up. The glitz, the glamour, the talent, the coach, everything. Nothing is in that tier. Colorado's in their own tier when it comes to that kind of thing. So I've tried to build, mention Arizona State as much as possible, but the results are them.
Yeah.
And that the way they've gone about it's been awesome. And here they are playing for a chance to go in the playoff.
Hey, we coming. Deion said he was bringing his Louis luggage. He brought that Louis luggage, and he wasn't hard to find, baby.
Also, he has a kickstand down. It's a kickstand on a bike. I don't know if y'all ever rode a bike, but that's what it is. Okay, so let's